Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to another video part of the TaskRabbit Money Maker course over on MakeManageGrowMoney.com. Also, you might be watching this on YouTube, of course. If you haven't already checked out the course, head over there, check it out. It is a free course to help you with making more money here on TaskRabbit. Now, this video is going to dive into the question of how much money can you make here on TaskRabbit per hour, and trying to share with you some thoughts, some suggestions, some pointers, some tips that might help you with deciding, how to set up your hourly rate and the process that you should take when deciding if you should increase or lower your rates. So without further ado, let's jump into the app so that you guys can first at least get an understanding of how, their recommendation system works and whatnot. All right, so we are here inside of the TaskRabbit app. I'm literally in my data entry category in my account. And, I've done maybe 2 data entry jobs. I think I've gotten 5 stars on both of those. But despite that, as you can see, I'm here in the TaskRabbit category, and it says your tasker rate is $15 an hour. This is what they are suggesting. And it's in the green, meaning this is what they suggest. If I come over, you can still see I'm in the green. If I come over to the yellow, it's this yellow one over here, it changes to high. So looking at suggested rate, it says based on market supply and demand and similar tasker experience, you're most likely to get hired at this suggested tasker rate. So TaskRabbit's basically saying based off of the market that you're in Boston, based off of the other taskers, if there are a lot of people doing this or not a lot of people, and based off of your experience, they're saying I should only basically have my rate at $15 or $16 an hour. If I was to increase it up to $17 an hour, you can see it actually changed yellow. And now it no longer says this is suggested, but instead this is high. And in that bottom area, it says based on market supply and demand and similar tasker experience, you're more likely to get hired at a tasker rate of $15 an hour. So they are again suggesting we go back down to this green color zone, $15 and $16 an hour, instead of being at 16 or 17 or 18. And this yellow zone goes all the way up to about $22. Once we go to 23, now you can see we're actually in the red, which is considered high. And they're basically saying this is really decreasing, your chances of getting booked based off of the market supply and demand, and the other taskers that have your experience. So basically, TaskRabbit is telling me, if I didn't know anything else, if I didn't do anything else, and I just came here to the app and went with setting up my account, TaskRabbit's telling you anything $23 above is way too high, and you're probably definitely not going to get booked at that rate. And then it's saying if you're at $22 down to about 17, it's still high, but you have better chances than being in the red. But if we go down to 16 or 15, this is what they are saying is the suggested, prime rate for you to have as an hourly rate when you are getting started. And so, I certainly want to make sure that I'm being transparent and I'm keeping it real with you guys and being honest with you guys. I think the TaskRabbit kind of color zone and the system that they have is something that you might want to consider doing just out the gates, just to get the ball rolling. So once you start to complete more jobs and get reviews, it helps to build up your credibility on the platform. So you no longer look like you're someone who's inexperienced or brand new, but instead you'll start to look like someone who actually knows what they're doing, someone who actually has some sort of skill set in that particular category. And, ultimately it's proving or helping to prove that you are worth more money. So, we're here just on the TaskRabbit homepage or dashboard. I didn't click on any services or anything like that. And, I know I've worked with all 3 of these gentlemen on the screen. Legendary Mark over here, one of the first taskers actually, on the platform, period. As you can see, his total completed tasks is 3,697 jobs crazy how many jobs he's completed, but it makes sense because, again, he is literally the first tasker here on TaskRabbit in Boston. And, he has a 5-star average over here of 2,536 reviews. Then we can look at Anthony or Eddie. Again, I've worked with all three of these guys. And you can see that Eddie's rates, as well as Anthony's rates, are lower, even with some of the same, services. Furniture assembly here is at 69, whereas Mark H is at 105. Well, and Eddie's over here as well. He doesn't have furniture assembly, but heavy lifting he has at 65, for example. And the thing that you might notice off the rip, which to me speaks and it makes sense, is that Mark has done more jobs and has a 5-star rating, which is a better rating than Anthony and Eddie. So to me, if I was saying I need help with furniture assembly, which is something that both of these gentlemen offer, or mounting, which is something that Eddie offers as well as Mark, if I'm looking at these components, well, it makes sense that Mark has a rating, an hourly rate that is so much higher than these other individuals, because it appears, and if we looked at the reviews, I'm sure the reviews would help validate and confirm what I'm assuming, but it appears that he is more qualified and probably more skilled, potentially more skilled than these other gentlemen. Maybe not. I'm not saying that for sure, but just knowing that he's done literally 3,000 more jobs than Anthony and Eddie too, basically. And on top of that, he still has a better rating. That to me is a justified scenario where I would say, okay, his rate should be higher than these other gentlemen because he's earned it. He's worked his way to that point. So, some people want to just jump in here and have their rate go all the way up to $1 million when they don't have the kind of credibility behind them. And if you want to get booked, if you want to actually have jobs here on TaskRabbit, you need to kind of prove yourself. You have to show that you're willing to, not only that you're willing to work, but that you have worked and that you know what you're doing. And the way for that to be done essentially is by getting booked, which means having your rate lower and just getting booked more, as kind of as much as possible, so to speak. As you get more jobs under your belt and hopefully good reviews, good ratings, that will, again, help to build your credibility, which then you can start to say, okay, the demand is starting to pick up for me. People are seeing that I work hard, I'm good at what I do, and people, want to work with me. Well, as you get booked more and more, you might want to then consider to increase your rate. So this might be the point, maybe this might be considered step 3, in which you might say, okay, like I'm going to raise my rate, but how much should I raise my rate? This is when you want to do some market research. And ultimately, it's going to just come down to your region, wherever you are located and whatever service you're providing, and just jumping in here on TaskRabbit, going from, not logged in from your account. Like right now I'm logged in. So I might potentially, but if I wasn't logged in my account, I could potentially be one of the taskers you see here on the screen. Being that I am, we're not going to see me, but ultimately, when you do that market research, all you're going to do is search for your city, wherever you provide your service, and whatever service it is that you provide that you're trying to decide what your hourly rate should be. You'll just click on those things, and you're just going to look and see where are other people, where are their hourly rates at. And, if you see, oh, my man Kevin, okay, if you can see that, okay, we're seeing a lot of people that have an hourly rate of the minimum of $60 for moving, let's say, and you're in a busy area like Boston and you're just getting started, well, you can probably assume that you don't need to start at $20, right? Now, maybe you do just because you want to get a few jobs. You want to get that first booking under your belt, get a few jobs under your belt, so at least you have some reviews and you have some completed tasks, and then you start to increase your rate. But this is a good example of a scenario where Carlos is probably the lowest, has had the least number of completed tasks and the least number of reviews that we've seen out of everyone up here. But yet he's asking for rates that are still, higher than some of these other people. To me, it's like, I mean, I everyone's different. If I was in here looking for someone to book, I'm not going to book this gentleman for something like moving or, furniture assembly at 100 an hour when he's done less jobs than other people that might have the same reviews or, 5-star rating and more reviews. So those again are things to consider. You got to do your research, but it's also not just based off of kind of what is out there, but also what's going on here on your plate. And what I mean by that is like, on your plate, depending on where you're located, what service you provide, how much money you want to make, or how much you want to work, how much flexibility or control you want over your schedule so you can do other things. All of those will also, or should also, kind of factor into your hourly rate. If I wanted to, if I didn't make my videos, if I didn't have my consulting company, if I didn't do other projects and other things, and I only wanted to work, my hourly rate would probably be lower, to be honest, so that I can get booked more often and completely maximize my time here on TaskRabbit. But I have multiple kind of streams of income or places I can make money from. So I don't put all of my eggs in this basket, and instead I'll kind of do some of this work, do some of that work. And that allows me to just keep my hourly rate where it is, kind of build up my clientele at my hourly rate. And this is what it is. But I'm relying on other sources of income. I've had this conversation with other people, and some people can't understand, like, if you don't have any money coming in, and let's say you're here in Boston and you're a mover, well, it's about to be February and people don't want to move in the winter here in Boston. So you're probably going to have to lower your rate to compensate for how slow things are going to be, if you still want to get some jobs, if you're not doing anything else to help with generating income. Or maybe you just budget really well. You know that, hey, in the summertime I make all my money, in the winter I don't. So you are planning appropriately and managing your money, hence this channel, Make, Manage, Grow Money. But you're managing your money effectively so that you can pretty much survive all winter without having to work, because you made so much money in the summer and the spring and whatnot. But again, it's going to vary based off of your situation. And if you are someone where you're not doing other work, TaskRabbit is your only source of income, and you're trying to make as much money as possible, well, you kind of want to just start to measure things out and track and see, okay, when my rate is at this rate, I keep it how it is at an hourly set rate for the whole month. And then you can go back and look in a year from now and say, okay, my rate was at this per hour, and I made this much money. Well, the year before it was at this much per hour and I made, XY dollars. And again, it's just going to allow you to compare and contrast and help you with better gauging where your hourly rate should be moving forward. Now, one of the, strategies or suggestions that I've heard when it comes to increasing your hourly rate, specifically with TaskRabbit and you're just getting started, is to move your hourly rate up $2 or $3 after you do maybe 2 or 3 jobs and get a review or 2. So, maybe you have every week you do 3 jobs, or, it all depends obviously what service you provide and how often you're getting booked. But let's say you had a job on Monday, a job on Wednesday, and a job on Friday, and you got a good review on Monday and a good review on Friday. Well, at that point, if you're getting kind of booked consistently, and at least for how much you want to make, because if you're not making enough money at a set rate, you might want to consider lowering it potentially, so that you can just get booked more often again and get that ball rolling. And yeah, I know sometimes, like, I can't remember. I mean, I can probably look in the app and see what my first task was and how much that first job was for. But, I'm pretty sure I just kind of did what they recommended just so I can say, hey, I just got some jobs under my belt, and I want them to recommend you. Because if you are someone with a rate that is so high and so far in the red, TaskRabbit is not going to have you showing up in places like this. You're not going to be recommended, which will decrease your chances of getting booked, especially when you're just starting off. So again, just that little system to consider when it comes to increasing your rates after you do 3 jobs, 4 jobs, 2 jobs, whatever. And after you get a review or 2, then you just consider raising your rate $2 or $3, every every time you go through that cycle, rinse and repeat, just rinse and repeat. Now, one last, I guess, pointer or thought is not to go too high with your rate. So like I was saying, I mean, Carlos, nothing against him. He 252 completed tasks. That's kind of a lot. With a 5-star average, that's good. So I'm not going to say his rates are too high for where he's at. Again, you have to consider the location of where you are geographically. We are here in Boston. Boston tends to have among higher rates. So, he can certainly have his rates be higher. Would I have them this high? Now, if it was my only source of income, probably not. With this number total number of completed tasks, I personally would probably have it a little lower, just so again I can have more completed tasks under my belt to help with building up my credibility, help to make me stand out more, along the lines of someone like Kevin, who's done over 500 tasks, and he's still, being smart about his hourly rate, where he's saying, hey, like, I'm pretty confident Kevin is getting booked more frequently than Carlos is right now with most of his services. That said, there will be some people that stress and, drive the concept of having a higher rate to help you with standing up over your competition, so to speak, as a way or effective strategy to help them with getting booked. And they might not get booked as frequently, but maybe they're still making as much money, or maybe a little less, but they're working less because their rate is twice as much, or, a third or whatever, just higher. So again, it's not all just black and white. It's not all so simple and dry cut. There are some people on this platform that are making, $20, $15 an hour. The average, as we saw, was $36 an hour. But here in Boston, as you can see, I mean, I didn't click in any other specific categories, but just on the recommended page, you're pretty much seeing anywhere from about $65 an hour all the way up to about 117 right here. So this isn't, and these certainly are not the lowest rates, and they're absolutely not the highest rates here in Boston. There will be some people that will have their rates twice as high. Some of these people will have a 2-hour minimum. So even though it says they might have a job that takes 45 minutes, but they have a 2-hour minimum in place. And as a tasker, you are your own business. You are an independent contractor. So you have that say to pretty much let a customer know, like, hey, I have a 2-hour minimum. If they don't want to agree with it, that's fine. They don't have to work with you. But if they do, then that's what it is. So technically, some of these people might even be making more than what you see listed here at these hourly rates. So, my last thought is ultimately you want to be smart about it, but it really depends on your situation and what your goal is. If your goal is to make as much money as possible, you certainly have to, in any case, one of the biggest recommendations I have is to just get a system in place to help you with managing what your hourly rates are, so that you have that easy access or insight to know, okay, when my rate was at this much, I made this much money that month. And the next month or the next few weeks, I increased my rate and I made this much money. And then the following month, I decreased my rate and I made this much money. When you have a nice record, a nice way to look back and say, okay, where was my rate at this time? How much money did I make at that time? And you can start to see patterns and trends over the year. It's going to help you with being able to decide what is the best hourly rate for you, especially at what time of the year, since it might not make sense to keep it the same all year round. So, hey, drop some gems in this video for you guys. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you can apply some of these suggestions, some of these tips, some of these ideas to your pricing model, your pricing structure. Of course, everyone's different. There's no one size fits all approach. Some people will listen to this and say, nah, I don't like anything he says. I like to just do what TaskRabbit suggests. I always stay busy that way. I always have work that way. It works well for me. Hey, to each his own. And if that's your case, feel free to leave a comment down below letting other people know what you do that works well for you or has worked well for you. I'm just one person. I'm just sharing kind of some of the ideas, some of the things that I've seen, that I've done, that I've heard others do. And, I hope you guys are able to benefit from at least one or two of these ideas. So if so, definitely like this video. I do appreciate it. I hope you guys also have the chance to check out the TaskRabbit Moneymaker course over on MakeManageGrowMoney.com. And feel free, like I said, while you're down in the comment section leaving your thoughts, to also subscribe to the channel and to hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest and upcoming video content. But all right, my friends, much appreciation for watching. But you already know I got to keep it moving. But I'll see you in the next video. Peace.